crushing.
Oh, yeah.
This moment right here is what Bishop Jakes calls the moment of crushing, where God will crush you, or crush like how crush a bird, an eagle, so their wings can become stronger. So at this time, when I graduated from New York University, you know, with Masters in Music Business, I couldn't find a job, had just broken up with my then fiance, a woman who I had been with for 5 years.
Hey!
Yeah, 5 years we had been together, and, you know, it didn't work out. And then had to move back home. I mean, I was in denial. The first 3-4 weeks I was in denial, living on my credit card, I'm gonna make it. I'm staying in New York. I'm gonna, you know, figure this out. Couldn't find a job, ended up having to move back home. So it was already a low point, a low period in my adult life. I was like, man, like, why is it that all these things are happening? And, you know, I remember days where I was trying to find jobs in New York, but I was still also working on music. I remember I'd be out on my parents', you know, in the gazebo in the backyard, and my mom, you know, I'd be making beats and stuff, and my mom would come back out there and be like, "Why are you wasting your time making these beats and doing music? You should be looking for a job here in Cleveland. There's no point in going back to New York. It's just not going to work." So having to accept that failure, and at this time, I'm looking at them as losses, not lessons. Failure, all of this pain that I was going through. So I started, you know, I was already drinking, kind of, you know, but it started to become a problem. Like alcoholism is in my family. And on one fateful night, it was around Thanksgiving 2013. I was working 2 jobs at that point. I was working part-time mentoring youth at a local, you know, mentorship program. And I was also working at Nordstrom, selling shoes, selling women's shoes. And, you know, I got a call from the bros. It was like, man, you back in town. We haven't seen you. Come through to the frat house, have a couple drinks, some laughs, you know, and there was a voice that told me, "Ah, man, you should just go home. Get some rest. You tired? Just go home. You can see the bros anytime." But that ego, nah, have a couple drinks. What's a couple drinks? You know, nothing I haven't done before. I just get with the bros, have some drinks, and go home after. I get to the frat house. And you know, when it's at the frat house, bros pour liberally. You get like a ginger ale and all this whiskey in a drink. And I always allude to Kendrick's swimming pools. It was pull up, drink, headshot, drink, drink, stand up. I was drinking, man. I made the unwise decision to attempt to drive home. And, you know, it took me a while to forgive some of the bros because they didn't take the keys out of my hand. I was no shape of driving that night. But on my way home, I was literally about to hop on the freeway, which I'm so thankful to God that I did not. I was pulled over. I was cited for swerving. Somebody had said, you know, this guy's swerving out here. It's not safe. I did the field test, failed it, ended up blowing way above the legal limit. And I was taken to jail, to a holding cell. The worst night of my entire life, the lowest point of my entire life. This is a guy with 2 degrees. This is a guy who was raised right. This is a guy who had 2 parents at home that loved him. This is a guy who cared about the community and did all these different things. And when I was in that cell, crying my eyes out, waiting for my parents to come bail me out, thank God I was able to call them and have them bail me out. As I was on that cold, long cot, there was a voice inside of me, and I know now that it was the Holy Spirit that came upon me and said 2 things. The first thing it told me to do was to stop crying. And I immediately stopped crying. Just came over me. The second thing that voice told me was, they can trap your body, but they can't trap your mind. They cannot trap your mind. Now, I had no idea, Lawrence, what that really meant at that time. I had no idea that this was God foreshadowing this next chapter of my life. I had no idea at that moment. But it was a calmness that came over me. But that next year, and those next now 7 years, 8 years almost, 8 years, 8 years, were the most transformative years of my